What's up, Inquilitors? My name is Victoria. Welcome back to my channel, or just a plain welcome if you're new. Today I'm going to be talking about The Last NAMSARA by Kristen Ciccarelli. Ciccarelli. I give up. I'm so sorry, Kristen. If you know how to pronounce his name, please let me know in the comments. Oh my word, you guys. I don't even know where to start with this book. This is gonna be a non-spoilery book talk because I want you all to read it and enjoy it the same way I did, but oh my word, this is the best freaking book I have read in a million years. Like, I kid you not. You know I love Throne of Glass, and those have been coming out like crazy over the last few years. It's still good, and it's still one of my favorites, but this is a whole other level! There's a good book, and then there's this. If you haven't heard of this book, The Last NAMSARA follows the story of Asha, who is what is known as the Iskari, or the Destroyer. So named after the goddess of death, she basically has the role of dragon hunter in her kingdom. Dragons are drawn by stories, but in this world, stories are illegal, or at least the great stories are illegal. But Asha has always been drawn to the stories, as well as always drawn to dragons. Asha is engaged to a real shitface, so in the beginning, her father, the king, makes a deal with her that if she can kill the first dragon, then she will not have to marry this guy. So that's basically how the story starts. She sets off to kill this old dragon and free herself from a betrothal to a real asshole. Along the way, she'll have the help of her betrothed slave, and there may or may not be some illicit romance. So I'm gonna read you the little blurby thing on the back, which is like one of the little parts of the book at the beginning. So I will read this to you in my best narratorial voice so that you can realize how wonderful it is. Although, I suck at reading out loud, so sorry. The old stories drew dragons the way jewels drew men. No dragon could resist one told aloud. But the stories didn't just lure dragons, they made them stronger. Telling such stories was forbidden, dangerous, even deadly. But after stalking this dragon through the rocky lowlands for 10 days now, her hunting slaves were out of food. Asha never returned without a kill, and she wasn't about to now. She was the Iskari after all, and there were quotas to fill, so she told the story. Because stories are magical. Seriously though, if you have not read this, you need to go buy it and read it immediately. Like, I have not read a book this good in a million years. It has everything you could possibly want. It has romance without being cheesy or annoying. It has adventure, it has dragons, it has magic, it has a kick-ass female protagonist who goes on this amazing emotional journey, and the writing is just so beautiful. As well, I absolutely love the way magic operates in this story. Stories themselves are magical and have the power to summon dragons, and I just love that because we always talk about how important stories are and how powerful words are, and so this is kind of like a literal physical embodiment of that. I don't know if you guys ever read The Graceling by Kristen Ciccarelli. Is that her name? It's been a while. Or The Hero and the Crown by Robin McKinley. These kind of epic standalone fantasy stories, although The Graceling did have other books in the series, and I think The Hero and the Crown had a sequel too. This might be having a sequel though, I'm not sure. But anyway, the point is that completely by themselves, they are amazing epic hero journeys that just completely satisfy you. Everything you want to happen happens, and I will say that made it slightly predictable, but predictable in the best way. Like the same way that a fairy tale is predictable, everything just works out so satisfyingly. Is that a word? So I didn't even care because it was like, yes, thank you. Thank you. This is gonna be a seriously short book talk because honestly, I don't really have much to say to you without spoiling the plot. I just want you to read it because it's so freaking good. It made me cry. I don't even remember the last time I cried in a book. Maybe it was the 7th Harry Potter. I used to cry as a kid all the time because I feel like I read a lot of really good books. But recently, I feel like I've read a lot of good books, but they haven't been just like beautiful and wonderful. This was everything. Yes, I was sobbing like a little baby, and you need it in your life. If you don't have it in your life, then you are seriously missing out. This is a wonderful story about finding yourself, not in a really cheesy way, and that's one of the things I love the most about this, is that who Asha is at the beginning is very different from who she is at the end, and she goes through this amazing journey of sort of like transforming her whole worldview and coming to terms with who she really is and what she actually thinks about the world, and it's just so beautifully written, and the romance is so just pure and delightful, and villains get it, and it's just so good. When I started reading this, I opened it sort of the morning I planned to write an essay and was intending on just reading one chapter, and then suddenly 3 hours had passed and I was like halfway through, and then I read the entire book till I had to go to my grandma's at 3. So I just binged this entire book from like 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and could not put it down. It was that good. It is possibly the best book. Well, not the best book I've ever read in my life because they're definitely amazing, great books, but it is definitely the best book I've read in the last 5 years and is on par with a lot of my other favorites. I'm gonna reread this probably every year. It's just so beautiful. It is fairy tale-esque, it's somewhat predictable, but it's so beautiful and just so heartwarming, and dragons. And you know I love dragons. I am always asking, where are the dragons? Here are the dragons! You need this. Yeah. I'm very emotionally attached to this book. Another thing I loved about this was that it's like kind of mature in the sense that there's like innuendos and like some dark stuff happens, but it's not ridiculously grotesque. Kristen alludes to things and makes it very clear what's going on, but there's no kind of like ridiculous detail given for no apparent reason. So, I don't know, maybe that's just me, but like when it comes to sex, I don't need explicit detail. When it comes to violence, I don't need explicit detail. Like, I like that stuff to happen in the story, especially when it's important to the plot, but I don't need you to give me all the like grimy details. Like, I got it, we're good. But that's a personal preference thing, so I really enjoyed that about this. I 100% cannot recommend this to you enough. I don't know anybody that would dislike this book. I can see how there may be like 1 or 2 things you could have a problem with. For me, I didn't care, but like maybe you'd rank it like 4 stars, but I don't like, you can't give it less than 4 stars because it's freaking amazing. If you're young while you're reading this, I'm confident this is gonna be one of those books you talk about 10 years from now that's like, books that defined my childhood, or books that changed my life when I was a kid, books that introduced me to reading, books I will go back to forever, books that made me love fantasy. I could go on. Seriously though, I am confident if you're anywhere between the ages of like 5 and 100, this is a great book for you. Maybe if you're younger though, I'm not sure you can comprehend it yet. But yeah, if you're like 10 to 16, I feel like you're gonna go back to this and it'll always be one of those defining books for you. And if you're older than that, then you're gonna read this and be reminded of all the books that defined your childhood because it's just that good. Go buy this book right now and read it immediately because your life will be changed and you will love it. And if you don't, what's wrong with you?